So is this a recent one?
No, this one's probably well, not the oldest.
Okay.
2017? No, 18 probably.
Okay, that makes sense because this does remind me of some of your older stuff when I first started seeing your work. This one has of the paintings we've seen so far. This one is kind of the most naturalistic and has the greatest depth of field of any of them.
It was a fun challenge because it's ridiculous to have a giant chip bag in the front of your painting. Like, it just seems absurd, and I wanted to figure out I liked the image, and I was like measuring it. I'm like, this chip bag is a monster, and I don't know. It was a fun, and all the junk on the table. What a mess! And figuring out how to make that beautiful. Which now looking at it, I'm like, how did I do that? That's awesome. It's been so long. Like, what a glorious disaster of Easter eggy colors.
No, go ahead.
Oh, just kind of sometimes taking chaos and being able to organize it is fun.
Well, it's also interesting the way you have these intense colors, and then the chaos on the table behind the chip bag is these kind of pastel. The upper right-hand quadrant moves into kind of this pastel world from the intensity of the reds and yellows and blacks of the foreground. And then the chip bag and the cup behind it. The cup behind it is kind of the most rendered item in the painting.
Yeah.
And I think that works very well to transition between the abstracted shapes of the chip bag in the foreground and the figure on the bed or on the sofa in the background. To have that the cup as kind of the intermediate point, because that's sort of where the eye goes to, right? I think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not used to analyzing them in this way. I was just like, paint something to the amount of finish that feels good. But I like what you're saying. It's nice to hear.
We all have, we all read paintings differently, and my training is, when I look at something, is to try to figure out kind of the techniques of moving the eye through the painting. And that does not have to be the way that someone else reads the painting at all.
Yeah, but it's nice to hear. It's good. It's interesting. I like that it's my grandma's Afghan, which is over there on the couch, which has been in many paintings in many different ways. I like that is a Frosty the Snowman mug, which I finally gave away because I was like, I'm done with this part of my life. Goodbye, Frosty. But I'm glad he's in there. I like the real kind of contemporary thing of a pack of cigarettes reflecting in the iPhone, and you can probably tell what I don't know if I remember, but someone who knows about iPhones would be like, that's an iPhone, whatever. I think it was like a 6.
But see, that to me is really interesting. These items have your truth in them. To me, I'm seeing these abstracted shapes. I had not picked up on the iPhone. I now see the iPhone. But I love that even though you're not doing a lot of modeled edges, the edge work that you've got going on between the iPhone screen and the dark of the tabletop, that's very clever and sophisticated. I mean, the amount of confidence in your drawing that is evident here is these are tough. Your work is really tough in a way that I think is really inspiring. I think it's really gutsy, and the way you are just willing to do these dark shapes to represent the shadows, these dark shapes to represent the item, but then you have the subtlety of the reflected color on the base of the iPhone, between the chip bag and the iPhone. I mean, it is very careful observation that is going on here, even though there's a huge amount of simplification. And then you're choosing to render the Frosty the Snowman mug, you know, and it was like, oh, that's a Christmas mug, isn't it? You know, I didn't realize it was
I think it's because of the sentimentality of a Christmas mug that I chose to render it more. So also, how much detail to put in. It's a fun question, right, to answer. How much is necessary?
Right.
Like, right? How much is necessary to tell the truth of something? And it's like very cool, because sometimes the truth is simple and sometimes and literal, and sometimes the truth of something in your painting is deep and emotional and nostalgic. And so how much information and like technical skill is necessary to tell the truth, because telling the truth is what's important to me and my truth, depends on what is the truth and how deep the truth is. And so there's no formula. It's just being in the moment.
Right. No, and that is our job as painters, is to find our truth and deliver that truth, as opposed to imitating somebody else's truth. It's the point of storytelling. I mean, it's why storytelling is interesting, is because you hear someone's specific story and the way they tell that story. Next slide, please, Betty Sue.